The Commanders 3-3. The upset loss to the Bears on Monday night, where but for a fumbled snap by Jaden Daniels, maybe they would have won the game and gone to 4-2. The Cowboys 2-3-1. One of the great rivalries in the NFC is renewed on Sunday. CeeDee Lamb returned to practice on Wednesday for the first time since having a high ankle sprain in week 3. Hey, it's opened the door for George Pickens to set himself up for the kind of contract that maybe the Cowboys aren't going to be able to give him. We talked a little bit about that yesterday, but it's going to be hard for the Cowboys to pay both CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. And you look at how Pickens has done the past 3 weeks, especially 2 of the last 3 games, especially at the Panthers, 9 for 168 and a touchdown. And that play that really did look like Randy Moss playing for Marshall against West Point, running down the field, hurdling guys. He's setting himself up for a nice deal somewhere next year, Miles.
Pickens is so special. And, a lot of times when we see players leave the Steelers, they don't usually go on and have successful careers. But obviously, Pickens was the pebble in Mike Tomlin's shoe. And Mike Tomlin said, I've had enough. I got to get rid of this pebble, man. I like it. The player. I know the player is good, but it's just too much of a headache. And, so far, and we're not even halfway through the season, it's looking like it's working pretty well for George Pickens in Dallas. I mean, maybe it would have been different if CeeDee Lamb were still healthy, but he hasn't been. And that has really opened the door for George Pickens and Dak Prescott to really establish their chemistry. And, I think we've seen that George Pickens is as talented as anybody. I mean, that's not, the talent has never been the question. It's always been, hey, can we get this guy where he needs to be mentally for us to continue to be productive as an offense? And right now it's working. It's just that Dallas's defense is not very good.
Some guys are never going to change even after they've been politely told to pack their stuff and go. Some guys, though, will view that rejection as the wake-up call. It takes me back 35 years to Buddy Ryan, Cris Carter. All he does is catch touchdowns. That was the wake-up call to Cris Carter, who had off-field issues that made him undesirable in Philadelphia, and it woke him up. It's possible that being rejected by the Steelers woke up George Pickens. It's also possible that one of the reasons he was a problem is because they never used him the right way in Pittsburgh. They had this incredible talent. They didn't scheme the ball into his hands, didn't use him for jet sweeps and bubble screens. Just let him do his thing. We know what he can do. And so, yeah, it's getting interesting. And with Lamb back, will we see as much from Pickens? Here's Brian Schottenheimer, coach of the Cowboys, yesterday. He was asked on what he needs to see from Lamb in order to turn the return to practice into a return to game action.
Yeah, if he's breathing, I'd feel pretty good. Honestly, I mean, CeeDee knows how to play football. If he runs around and catches a pass or two, I'm good.
Let's not, overstate the importance of being alive. We have had coaches condition the availability of a player on whether or not he lives until Sunday. So
yes,
it's not some new thing. And I think Dak Prescott will handle it well. And back when the trade was done, one of the things Jason Garrett said on this program, George Pickens has never had a leader like Dak Prescott. He arrived in Pittsburgh post Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah.
And so much of what does or doesn't control a receiver is the personality and leadership skills of the quarterback. And that may be a factor here as well. And for Dak, hey, good news, you got 2 guys that can't constantly be doubled. So one of them is going to have single coverage, and that means he's open. The bad news is you only got one football, and you got to figure out how to keep everyone happy, because now that Pickens has got a taste of these 100-plus yard games and what that means to his eventual bank account, he's going to want more.
He absolutely is going to want more. And I think it's natural for any receiver to feel that way, because you think that when I get the ball, I can affect the outcome, right? I know I can affect the outcome of the game if you just give me a chance, because I'm going to come down with it. This is the issue with A.J. Brown and the Eagles, right? If you give me the ball, I'm going to help us win. And so, yeah, George Pickens, the issue right now is that the Cowboys aren't necessarily winning. They did have the tie. They should have beaten the Panthers probably, but they didn't. They couldn't get the stop on defense. And so when you look at it that way, you're kind of saying to yourself, man, the outcomes should be different than this. But you can't deny the production that George Pickens has been able to put up. And so, yeah, it is going to be interesting for Dak Prescott, because now you have your returning number one receiver, who we know is damn good in this league and got paid like it. And you also have a guy that wants to get paid. And so teams don't usually have two highly paid receivers at the same time. I mean, we're just talking about Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. That's an unusual situation. And especially given the contract that Dak Prescott has, like it seems unlikely, let's call it, that the Cowboys would be able to pay him and then also CD and then also have Dak. So that's going to be an interesting dynamic over the rest of the year, because at this point, I mean, George Pickens looks like he should be one of the top paid receivers in football, right? And if he puts up numbers like he has in 2 of the last 3 weeks, I mean, he's going to be, whether that's in Dallas or somewhere else. So I don't know how that dynamic is going to go for the rest of the year, especially if they're not winning like that. The Cowboys are always worth monitoring, in part because Jerry Jones has made them that way. But like this situation in particular, I find really interesting.
Well, and look, there's been plenty of talk this week, and Jerry Jones, I think it's part of what will be a permanent effort to justify the Micah Parsons trade, but he hasn't closed the door on possibly trading for defensive help, and their defense needs help. And we've got 2 weeks, 5 days until the trade window closes. They've got extra assets from the Parsons trade. In theory, they could try to trade for defensive help. They also, and I'm not suggesting they should do this, but it does solve their problem. You could trade George Pickens for defensive help. You could do that. You could dangle that possibility, right? And I'm not saying you should, but when you're talking about, it's two sides of the coin. It's the yin and the yang. You got the offense and the defense. Your offense is really good right now. Your defense isn't. Could you sacrifice Pickens, who you're not going to be able to use to that same capacity if CeeDee Lamb's healthy? Of course, you then assume that he'll stay healthy and, breathing for the rest of the season. You could give up Pickens and you could improve your defense. I mean, that's got to be one of the options. If the goal is identify every option, assess every option. And with Pickens, it's sign him to an extension now, sign him to an extension after the season, tag him, then sign him to an extension, tag him, then go year to year, tag and trade. Those are the options. Also, let him walk away as a free agent, which they won't do. One of the options would be trade him before the deadline. I'm not saying they should, but if you're looking for defensive help and your defense is bad and you've got a guy who's done enough that maybe there's a team out there that's thinking, ooh, like what if the Eagles would trade A.J. Brown to somebody in the AFC? And then the team that wanted A.J. Brown doesn't get A.J. Brown. I mean, that team boomerangs back around to the Cowboys and says, we want George Pickens. Now, the problem is they got to be able to give them the defensive help they need. That's the challenge. It's not like teams have a surplus of great pass rushers that they can just say, here's this guy for George Pickens. All I'm saying is they need to have that on their radar screen as a possible way out of this dilemma that they've found themselves in based on Pickens' performance the past few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, Jerry Jones is a wild card, man. I mean, I don't believe in trading blue chip players. The guys that are probably walk-in Hall of Famers. It's why, I mean, the argument for the Browns to trade Myles Garrett, I understand it, but I wouldn't have done it. And, now Myles Garrett is being weird, as he has want to do. So that's why it's like when you trade Micah Parsons right before the season starts, literally anything is on the table. I don't know what the hell Jerry Jones is going to do. That guy is the ultimate wild card. He probably would love it that I'm saying that about him, but that's the reality of the situation. So you can't take anything off the table, for better or worse, when it comes to Jerry Jones and the way he might construct his team.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.